with sadness and fear. My name is Nicolao Andrea Pellizzari. I was born near Zurich in Switzerland. I'm Italian, German, and Swiss, and Californian. So, just to explain why I am the way I am. It's always good to have someone to be able to blame, right? So thank you for inviting me to this space. I just moved a little bit because this looks like a space station, you know, like they're gonna beam you into outer space. I don't like it from a Vastu, Feng Shui, or architecture point of view. I usually say people who create buildings like this as a punishment, they should have to live in these places. So whatever happens, never lose your humor and never lose your appetite. Because if you lose your humor or your appetite, it's going to be hard. Now, why this topic? I went to an international boarding school, not as big or as developed as this one in the Swiss Alps. It was a liberal arts school. We had 350 students, but in the beginning of the 80s, we already had computer programming and our own photo lab, pottery, Shakespeare and Brecht, and a whole bunch of other stuff. I was at the bright old age of 13, and I had to learn how to transform loneliness into solitude. Now, they may seem like to be the same thing, but they're not. Anybody can give me an idea what you understand under loneliness?
Like a feeling even being with others.
Like a feeling of being?
With others.
Without others. Yeah. Even if there's a lot of people,
you feel lonely.
You feel lonely. You feel disconnected. Have you ever felt like that?
Yeah.
Or is it just me? Sometimes you're in a place with a whole lot of people, but you just can't really connect. You feel like, I'm out of place, this is not my place, these are not my people. Have you ever felt like that? So that's loneliness. Henry David Thoreau says that because I feel disconnected from myself, I feel pretty much disconnected from everybody else. So that's a state of mind that is quite common nowadays. I just spent the last 4.5 years in San Francisco setting up meditation and algorithm, self-help, self-improvement clubs at universities around in the Bay Area, San Francisco, Stanford, Berkeley, San Francisco State, San Jose State, etc. Because depression, mental health issues, suicide, addiction, big topics. I know this is Mexico, everyone's happy, everyone's chill, right? Are you all chill? Yeah. Because you're very happy. Why? Because you don't have to prove anything to anyone. Because it's hard to be a gringo, you know? It takes many lives to become a gringo. It doesn't go so easy. There's a price to pay for it. So, but even though in Mexico we got everything and more, there's great biodiversity, there's a whole lot of opportunity, still there's trouble in paradise. Have you noticed that there's trouble in paradise? And I don't mean just, you know, Mexico City traffic or narcos, but there are other issues. So, we're not going to get into sociological or historical or political issues or economic issues. But one thing to understand is that the way how my mind is how I see the world. The way how my mind is how I see the world. Because that's the lens, that's the glasses through which I view everything. Traveling is a great thing, but if my mind is not adapting, then basically I haven't gone anywhere. I'm the same person wherever I go. Have you noticed that when you go on vacation? Even though I change the scenery, but because my mindset doesn't change, basically I'm still dealing with the same issues that I had back at home. It's good to travel, because when you travel, you have to adapt. You have to see that, okay, there's different ways of doing things, and my way might not be the way. Because when you're at home, you get what you want. But when you're traveling, you get what you get. And why would that be a good thing? Anybody? Why is it a good thing that you don't get what you want sometimes? What does it force you to do?
To be flexible.
Be flexible. Now this building doesn't look very flexible, does it? But you see, that's the problem with structures like this. Because they're not very flexible, they usually don't stand time. Do you know that bamboo is stronger than steel? Any structural engineers here? No? You are? So you can tell us how it works scientifically, that if you want to bend steel, there's a certain point where it snaps. But bamboo, you can actually bend it 360. You know Bruce Lee, be like water? Oh, you don't watch movies, right? You're not into martial arts. Okay. If I'm rigid, if I'm quadrado, if I'm stuck, then when the forces of time, the waves of time come, I will get what's called bend out of shape. I will get really stressed out. Just a while ago I was in Miami and I saw a lady in front of a pharmacy and she was yelling at her phone. Have you ever yelled at your phone? No. They don't do this in Mexico. No? Yelling at a phone. I always think it's amusing. I always think, like, what has this phone done to deserve to be yelled at? And what is the other person thinking on the other side, you know? Like you can see, like, they're holding the phone like this. So I had two choices. Choice number A, avoid the lady. Choice number B, talk to her. Now, Mexico, still a democracy? Kind of. So. You know, I just came up from Chile all the way through Central America, so every place changes, you know. Izquierda, derecha, izquierda, derecha. You have to always ask, okay, what's the ideology here? You know, what's the new dogma? All right, we got democracy, so we can vote. Fine. How many of you would avoid a person who's yelling at their phone? How many of you would talk to a person who is yelling at their phone? 1, 2. How many of you abstain? Are you Swiss? Swiss are the neutral ones, you know? I always have to tell people, you know, we don't do wars. We finance wars. You get it? It's not a joke, it's a reality. So, of course I talk to the lady. I'm a hockey player. I love confrontation. So, I asked the lady right now, your mind, is it your best friend or is it your worst enemy? Right now, are you mindful or are you mindless? She looked at me. She said, I'm so angry. I could scream and yell at the whole world. But keep talking. It's working. So we had a little heart-to-heart. We were discussing about life and how we perceive it. And I reflected to her that, did you notice that most people in most situations are beyond our control? Have you noticed that? And I'm not talking about the people who don't put their phone on silent mode or those who come late, you know, because they have exams. I'm talking about bigger things. Have you noticed how most things and most people are totally outside of our self-control? You have? Or you still think you're in control? Sounds interesting, huh? What's that?
Like a boss, I think.
It's the ghost we have.
Now we can guess what that sound is. Okay? So you notice sound is very powerful. Sound is amazingly powerful. So if you want to get peace of mind, you want to meditate, use sound, work with sound energy. We had to change our house and to change our location in Switzerland, maybe 7 or 8 times, like every other year, because my mom was really sensitive to sound, and she just couldn't stand it. One time it was the neighbors, then it was the traffic, then it was construction. It was always something, so we kept on moving, which in one sense was a bummer, because I always had new school, new friends, but in another sense, it really prepared me for what I'm doing now. So you can see any situation as either a tragedy or as an opportunity. What do you prefer, tragedy or opportunity? Come on, you don't like tragedy? A bit of drama? You prefer opportunity. So you can see this either as a terrible distraction, and you say like, man, you know, let's call the president of the school, you know, like, I'm paying 40 grand a year, and I can't do my homework, I can't concentrate. Or I can say, this is a good sign. This is good to teach me something. So by asking myself the question, what is the lesson? How much am I able to focus? How much am I able to withdraw the temptation of starting to blame others? You don't play the blame game here, right? You don't do that? It's his fault, it's her fault, it's a school fault, it's the president's fault, it's my parents' fault. It's God's fault. Have you ever heard that? Have you ever said that? Blaming. But we all realize that without acceptance, like this morning we just had a community project where we were cooking about 100 vegetarian meals and serving them out in a what do you call these places?
Pesquería. I don't know what the places are called, like rehab.
Rehab, okay, rehab center, yeah. So we went there as a community service, we had a little music, meditation, some talk, and we're serving out meals there. And what was the thing I was talking about before I got distracted? Exactly.
I was blaming.
Blaming. Thank you. Blame. That was the point I was looking for. Have you ever heard of the 12 Steps program? People who want to get out of addiction, and it could be anything, you know, because we're all addicts. Do you agree? Yes or yes? Please say yes. Thank you. It's a good class. They're following orders. We're all addicts. The question is just, what am I addicted to? You can change that. Where'd you get your dopamine? Where'd you get your buzz? Where'd you get your, your cravings? So, 12 Steps is the program that was developed to get people out of addiction. And the first step is acceptance. I have to take responsibility. I have to say, okay, this is where I'm at, this is what's happening, and I'm taking responsibility and I'm getting ready to deal with it. Because as long as I'm blaming, I'm still avoiding the real issue. Have you ever tried to fix people or fix situations or fix the world? Has this ever happened to you? Or is it just me? I feel much better already. Does it work to fix people? Or fix situations or fix the world? Not really, right? So I had that little discussion with that lady, and after I told her what I just shared to you, that most people in most situations are beyond our control, but the way how we respond to these people and to these situations, that is under our control. Would you agree with that? She started smiling. And she said, I get it, I understand what you're trying to tell me. And she said, I'm going to go home now and read these books that you gave me, because it sounds like this is a better option, this is a better path. So the topic, for those of you who came a little later, today is how to deal with sadness and how to deal with fear. And I started out telling my own little story how I went to an international boarding school over the Swiss Alps, who was, a little more expensive than what you guys are doing here. But it's Switzerland, so it's going to be expensive, otherwise, what's the point, right, of being in Switzerland? But it's all relative to the normal. And I had to learn how to cope with loneliness. And it was really hard. Because when I was back down in the city, I could do any sports I wanted. I could go out, I could meet friends. But here I was, on the mountain, like right next to the ski slope, which is really great if you like skiing. But I was a hockey guy. I'm a hockey player. There was no ice hockey up here. And that was really terrible for me. You know ice hockey? You don't know what cold means, right? I mean, cold doesn't mean like 18 degrees or something. Cold means like freezing cold. Now, I know you're going to the mountains. Many of you have experienced cold. So, I had to learn how to cope with that. I had to get innovative. How did I do that? I spent more time out in the woods. I spent more time running. I took the old basketball court, which was not in use anymore, and I watered it, and I created my own hockey field there. And for me, it didn't matter. There were no other people, but the game was still on. Never lose the love of the game. Never lose the love of what you love doing. And think that, no, I can't do this now because I'm going to tech. And in tech, you have to be cuadrado, right? You have to behave a certain way, you have to dress a certain way, you have to talk a certain way, otherwise you're not cool, right? You don't fit in. No. You can change your school, you can change your shirt, you can change your nationality. As I said in the beginning, for those, I'm Italian, Swiss, German, Californian. You can change many things. But what can't you change? Who you are. Thank you. You can't change yourself, who you really are. And that means that if I just keep on changing externals, it never really hits the spot. It never really connects with the real underlying me. Now this is, of course, hermeneutics or partially epistemology, meaning the definition of terms. Like this is a microphone, this is a loudspeaker. I ask you, and this might sound a little basic, point to yourself. Can you point to yourself? Okay, why do you all point here? Why don't you point here? I mean, you're mostly working with your brain right now, right? You're trying to memorize a lot of data, process, and then deal with it. Why do you point here and not here, or here, or here? Because there's the heart, and the heart is where I live. That's my job. And if it doesn't touch the heart, it doesn't really touch you. So, I will give you a nice class about secular mindfulness, how to make more lemonade, how to squeeze your current situation and make it last longer, how to be more tenacious and productive. But it's not what I'm going to do, because they don't pay me for that. Because we all have to find our purpose. La raison d'être. In Spanish? Can you translate it literally, or is there a dicho for it? Or it's the same thing? Okay, I'm glad. Finally one that's the same thing, right? All the others, like you say, we had fun. We had so much fun, we blew the roof off. And if you translate that literally into Spanish, it means not much, right? It's throwing the house through the window, right? Tirar la casa por la ventana. which makes no sense in English whatsoever. You throw the house through the window, right? So if you ever are in a situation where you have to talk and you want to say all your cute things that you want to say, you have to find the dicho in the local language. Otherwise people will look at you and go like that. And so you can't translate things literally. Anyway, the point is that I live here. I'm the soul. I'm the life force. I'm the energy. I've lived before this body, and I will live after this body is gone. You know conservation of energy? The law of conservation? You can transform something, but you can't make it disappear. Even if that spaceship actually comes and will beam into outer space, I'm still waiting for that beam of light coming down here, and then I'll move in front of you and go on my journey. I will still be me, because that's who I am. That's my identity. So we can't change identity, but identification can be changed. We had so many shirts, we had so many dreams. Did you have posters in your rooms when you were growing up? Or music stars or sports heroes? Did you do that? You're normal people, hey. You know? And then, every now and then you had to take some down, right? Because it wasn't cool anymore, and you put somebody else there, right? So, you can be in a mass of people and feel lonely, or you can be alone by yourself and you feel solitude. Solitude means I'm completely connected. I'm totally happy being who I am, where I am, and what I'm doing. Now, just yesterday morning, I was in Guatemala at a high school with 100 students, and we're talking similar stuff. And I saw that many of them were just stuck in comfort zone. They're just more concerned about being comfortable, about their girlfriend, their boyfriend, and they're not so connected. So I had to be a little more graphic. And we're speaking about the dream, that we're all dreaming different dreams. And right now, the daydream seems to be more real than what we're dreaming at night. Would you agree? This seems to be more real than what you dream at night. But what's the definition of a dream? Can someone give me a definition of a dream? What happens with dreams? Do you ever dream? I hope so, because you need to dream in order to process. Otherwise, no bueno. That's why you need deep sleep, because if you can't dream, you can't process. And this machine needs rest. So what happens to dreams?
Sometimes it's fantasies.
Sometimes it's fantasy. What's one underlying norm that applies to all dreams?
You don't see yourself.
You don't see yourself, no?
They always end.
They always end.
They don't exist.
Well, I just dreamed it, you know? It seemed like pretty real. It seemed like very real to me. In fact, you know, sometimes it's so real you wake up. So even though they seem to be surreal, but still they're real. So they're temporary. They have an ending. Would you agree that your situation here in this school is temporary? I mean, my friend here just got tenure. Did they give you tenure, or you just applied for it?
They give it to.
They give it to you. Now, is that a 20-plus year lifetime sentence, or is that
I think it's
still negotiable?
Yeah, I think it's negotiable.
It's negotiable. Okay.
But it's a life sentence.
It's a lifetime sentence. There's always the plus and the minus. There's always, you know, maybe you have some influence how to redecorate this place a little bit, you know. We're talking about dreams. Our daydream seems to be more real than our night dream. Why? Because it lasts longer. but it's also temporary. In 100 years, we're going to be laughing about all these exams and all these, things that are going on right now that we consider so important, like so important. I'm almost 60 now, and I successfully dropped out of 9th grade, much to the disappointment of my parents who are educators. Sometimes you have to break your mother's heart in order to make her proud. Have you had that experience? That sometimes you have to break with tradition and go your own path in order to do something of actual substance that actually will make a difference. And later on, people will appreciate it. But in the moment, they won't. That's normal. Anybody who ever did something of magnitude broke with the norm. You can watch Steve Jobs' address to Stanford students, to Stanford University, where he was saying that he dropped out of school, went to India, got into meditation, and then just pursued his dream. He had a wild dream. His dream was the PC. Have you heard of the PC? The personal computer. That was his dream. And he was in his garage in Portland, Oregon, working on his dream. And he was so absorbed in his dream that he forgot to sleep, he forgot to eat. He was what you call in samadhi, means complete ecstasy. He forgot all about the outside world. But once a week he walked to the nearest Hare Krishna temple, which took him almost 10 kilometers, because he forgot to eat. But he knew on Sunday there would be a free vegetarian meal, all you can eat in that place. So he walked there, ate, and walked back to his garage to work on his dream. And he admitted that I was a bad programmer. I was not good with hardware, not good with software. But you know what he was good in? He was an evangelist. He was a preacher. What was his message? What was his religion? The PC, the personal computer. When I went to boarding school and we started with the first computers, you had to go something, enter F1, something, enter F2, something, enter F3. I said, this is lame. This is freaking boring. This is never going to fly. No one wants to do this. I'm bored out of my mind. And now, you can't even operate an electric toothbrush, right, without a computer. Can't even get your car out of a garage, or you can't get into an Airbnb, or you can't get your boarding pass without dealing with computers. Now my friend here is teaching AI. He can't say this. I do about a 30+ country a year because it's part of my service. So every now and then I open a phone or a computer. And the first thing they ask me usually is, where would you like to go today? Who would you like to be? And then the second thing is, are you human? I think that's really funny. Don't you think that's really funny? AI is asking me, are you human? Now, some coder had some humor, right? And said, let's have some fun with the humans, and put in there, are you human? Again, back to the original premise, never get bent out of shape, so it's okay, you can stretch, you can do your yoga. You're going to stay flexible. Why? Because life is going to test you. Okay, you're not a Peru, but there's going to be earthquakes, there's going to be forest fires, there's going to be tension, and you have to learn how to deal with it. Otherwise you get bent out of shape, and you self-destruct. And that's not a good thing. So how to stay flexible? Traveling helps, but only if I also travel with my mind and with my consciousness. So this process of elevating our consciousness and dealing with our mind is called meditation, because it helps us to contextualize. Now I know in tech, a lot of it is about memorizing data and then how to say the right thing at the right time, get your diploma and get the job. You know how I got the attention of my students at that high school in Guatemala? Told them, okay, so you learn how to read, you learn how to write, you learn how to count. Did they teach you how to think? And I'm asking you the same question. Did they teach you how to think? thinking mean? I can teach parrots how to memorize stuff. Have you ever seen a parrot who talks? Have you? I know you've got nice peacocks out there. They make a lot of noise and a lot of poop too, but they're beautiful. So we're not here to learn memorization, because anyone who's in education knows that memorization is the lowest form. What does it mean to think?
To be rational.
To be rational. What else?
To create.
You can speak louder, the acoustics are really terrible from where I sit.
To create.
To
create something.
To create something,
You have a piece
okay?
of information, but you can use it to create something new.
Okay, so you make something out of what you got.
Yes, so
Okay,
it's not
what
just-
else? How would you define thinking?
I think that is the pause that you do before you act something.
The pause that you do before you do art, before you create something? What do you do in that pause? That's a very interesting definition. What happens in that pause?
You think, you plan, you
You visualize certain things, okay? Part of that process of visualization, there are different ways of how to go about visualization, okay? Now, nothing against structural engineers. I love my stuff that works, I get nothing against things that work, My Swiss is still alive somewhere, although I almost had to renounce it, because traveling in Asia and in Latin America does not help, or in Latin-speaking countries does not help being Swiss, Like you go to a country and you ask them, okay, so when is the seminar? And they say, don't be so European, He será, whenever it's going to happen, it's when it's going to happen, okay? So stop being Swiss, all right? And just roll with it. Okay, so we're at the process of visualization. And there's a process of internal questioning, right? How will my audience perceive this? What is the message that I'm trying to communicate? Or, if you're unconsciously competent, which means you're in a more advanced stage of creation, you're just in the flow zone. You're just channeling and creating. One time they asked Charlie Chaplin, what's the secret of your success? You've heard of Charlie Chaplin? Have you heard of Charlie Chaplin? No? Charlie Chaplin was a comedian, and that was back in the day where there was silent movies. They put subtitles. There was no sound. So you have to be quite expressive because you don't hear what the person says. He's very famous. He's one of the most famous comedians of his time. I suggest you watch one or two things, like Modern Times, really amazing piece. They asked him, what's the secret of your success? The most accomplished comedian of his time. He said, 50% of your success. I don't know, do you want to have success in life? Yeah? Why not, right? So, 50% of success is just showing up at the right place at the right time. Can you do that? It's half the rent, it's not bad. And what's the other 50%? To be enthusiastic. You have to actually put your heart into it. What does enthusiasm mean? I know you probably don't do Latin here. Anyone in humanities? What do you do?
Teaching ethics.
Teaching ethics? Nice. Very important. Did you do Latin? En Theos. But you're all Latinos, you should all speak Latin. No? It's been a while, right? We forgot. So what does En Theos mean? En Dios. It means to be guided, to be inspired, or to be possessed by God. Now that helps for creating art. I can guarantee you that. Because if you watch some of those artists, they're pretty inspired. They're pretty en theos. They're also pretty crazy sometimes, which is part of it, which is part of art. So, To think means to question, to be able to ask relevant questions. And that's what, unfortunately, does not get taught in most of the schools. Why? Because it's not so convenient. Why? Because they never teach you enough in order to overthrow the establishment. They never teach you enough in order to overthrow the establishment. So now we're not talking political or social science, but just overthrowing means you challenge the status quo. You have to go above the norm in order to do something. Like you want to write a PhD, you got to come up with something new. Am I right? You can't just copy someone else's stuff. My friend who's a teacher at high school, he says, you know how I figure out that people are using AI? If it's too good, if the language is too good, if it looks too clean, it's AI. Because humans make faults. It's part of humanity, right? They commit errors. Okay, you let AI do it, and then you put the faults back in there. You'll still have AI to detect whether you used AI. At the end of the day, there's no shortcut. You have to actually be able to have that dialogue. Okay? What are some of the important questions, some of the big questions that would actually stimulate the thought process? Yes?
How do I should live?
How?
Do I should live?
How should I live? In other words, ¿qué es mi propósito, right? What's my purpose? What's my meaning? What's my value?
It is a question that it has been trying to be answered from millennia. You know, Aristotle, well,
Yes.
Or Aristotle, Jesus, a lot of thinkers, philosophers, and persons who try to get the idea or some idea about how we should live.
Yes.
So that is the correct way to live, what is the best way to take advantage of our lives and things like that.
Sure. So, Aristotle, as you mentioned, he was upset with the sophists. Have you heard of the sophists? There are people who are just saying things nice, but there was actually no substance to it. It was just sophistry. It was just nice talk. So Aristotle mentioned that even having ethics, having values on your mission statement, you know, is not enough. That you've got to go beyond that. You have to actually apply yourselves to those values, to those ethics, and imbibe them. Meaning, walk the talk, teach by example. Have you noticed how people don't listen so well these days? And it's not just the kids, it's everybody. But it's very visual, they watch you very closely. And if we don't actually imbibe, internalize what we're trying to communicate, then somebody could actually call us hypocrites. Because we're preaching something, but we're living something else. And that will create a dichotomy. So, and that should be avoided at all costs, no matter what your discipline is. So oftentimes, we're stuck in that dilemma, and that can create tension. Now is tension a good thing or a bad thing? Who says bad? Tension, bad. Who says tension good? Both, it depends. You know, in your body, if you don't have any tension, you can't move. And nothing moves here also. And in Ayurveda, the Sanskrit science of health, your digestive system is your indicator of your health. Because no matter how much you eat, if you can't process food and take nutrients out of it, same like your information, if you can't process data and extract the essence and contextualize it and apply it, it just creates paralysis by analysis. Have you heard of paralysis by analysis? Hey Siri, how do I feel right now? I can't tell you that, but I can give you a lot of data. That's what Siri is going to say. That's why just AI or just more technology is not the solution. We have to be able to actually apply it in a relevant way So information without application does not lead to realization. And without realization, there's no transformation. Would you like to experience something in life? Or are you happy just watching stuff? Why not? When I grew up, we had 3 channels, TV, you know? Now, last time I checked, it was 500 or something. How long does that take you to zap through 500 channels? How long do you have to scroll till there's nothing to scroll anymore? Till your hand hurts? Are you scrollers or are you readers? Almost. Huh? So, we have to be able to actually extract the essence, otherwise we're missing the point. So that dialogue, that internal dialogue, is stimulated by reading books, texts, that will help us with that questioning, like a friend here was sharing, to ask, okay, who am I? What am I doing here? What makes me really happy? Sociologists have found out that anything that you earn over $150,000 a year is meaningless. It just doesn't do nothing to you. It's totally pointless, because you can't eat more, you can't sleep more, you can't drive more, you can't... There's a limit to this machine. Have you noticed it? I noticed it very early on because I was into ice hockey, skateboarding, downhill, everything fast. And I paid it's called the toll fees, you know, peaje, where you start breaking bones and you start to realize your limits. I call it those maybe I'm not God moments. Have you had your maybe I'm not God moments? Where you come to the limit. So tension is not always a bad thing. Tension is actually necessary in order to move in the world. But there has to be balance. There has to be balance in that tension. So you're under a lot of stress here because you got to perform. You have to satisfy the powers that be. Can be your teachers, can be your family, can be your own self, your own dreams. But you got to perform. Now, how to do that? After 4 years of waiting, I got my book back that the editor had accepted before the pandemic. And I was in Lima, Peru, just doing a few classes at the university there. And I sat down for almost 7 days straight. I was just editing all day long. And after that, my right heel went numb. Have you ever had a part of your body that went numb? Like you meet somebody who's lying there, you ask them how do you feel, and the person says, I don't feel anything. You go like, whoa, this is bad. Okay, let's call the ambulance. We got a guy here, he's not feeling anything. Don't touch it. Okay, we're coming. My heel was numb, and all around it was really painful. Because I hadn't moved. I just tried to be very productive. But I was not sustainable. So, we have to find balance. We have to find balance. Right now, there's a lot of that memorization, calculation, projection going on. But that inner alignment with my true purpose, with my true self, my true meaning, is oftentimes undervalued. And I don't know how much you do internships here or people going to trades, but different countries have different approaches to that. I'm really in favor of internships. That you go out and you try a few things and you see whether, is this going to work for me? Am I ready to go and study for 4 or 5 years for something that I have no clue? Do you know that over 80% never work one day in their life in the subjects that they study? It's crazy, isn't it? What a waste of time. Now, as they say, all plans are useless, but planning is indispensable. Why are all plans useless? Did you ever have a plan? Yeah? Did it work out? No. So why is planning indispensable? What do you learn while you're planning? It's that internal dialogue. is that creativity, that dialogue of like, okay, what am I trying to do? Why am I trying to do it? For who am I doing it? What about plan B? What about plan C? What if nothing of this works? And I'll just do something completely different. Will that be okay? You know, life is what happens when you're not in school. Have you noticed? Life is what happens when you're not in school. But if you learn a few things in school, like discipline, like communication, like team play, you know, pasar la pelota. Have you heard of that? Rejoicing in someone else's success because you know it's the team's success. I know it's highly competitive. Everybody wants to hit the top mark and everybody wants to walk out with their diploma and they got there. But why are we here for? What is the goal of the human form of life? How much do you have to work in order to get your proteins, your carbs, your fibers, your fats? How much do you have to work to get that done? I worked on farms in the summers in Switzerland. It was hard work, but it was honest. It was satisfying. How much do you have to work? What are my goals? So these are all good questions. So my humble proposition is, if we, and that's to all of us, message to self, if I improve my internal processing, my internal dialogue, that will also improve my communication, and that will also improve my output. Questions, comments, or reflections? And I will get to the fear part. Don't worry. We're going to get there. This was just a warm-up, okay? Because before you do heavy lifting, you have to do warm-up. Like if you go to yoga, don't just jump into the crow. You know the crow? You stand on your hands and you put your legs that way. It looks really cool, but it's not that cool. You can really hurt yourself if you do stuff like that. So you got to warm up. Any reflections, comments, or questions to what you heard so far?
I was thinking about doing journalism now is very on trend, and I think it's a way of connect with yourself again.
Yes, to journal.
Yeah.
How many of you are journaling now? Consider it something that you want to try out. To remember means to write it down. To remember means to write it down. And it helps to actually do it with paper and a pen. Because as soon as the phone is in your hand, you know what happens when the phone is in your hand? Have you noticed what happens when the phone is in your hand? Yeah, if you want to be comfortable, use a chair or a cushion. You can also stand up, stretch. So journaling, thank you.
I was wondering if you had some tips on how to be more mindful and present in the moment.
Yes.
I have a really bad time on living and feeling that I'm in the present tense. Like I'm always thinking of the future or in the past. And yeah, I was wondering if you had any recommendation for that.
Yes, thank you for your honesty. It's not easy to be present, to be in the moment. Because the mind has a tendency to get distracted. Have you ever been distracted? Have you ever not been distracted? It's hard. So, usually, the mind likes to make plans for the future and lament about the past. So either I'm there or there, but I'm never here. Which is really a bummer, because the only place where experience takes place is now. Technically speaking, all I have is the moment. The future hasn't come, the past is over. So, imagine you're always absent-minded. You miss your graduation. You miss your wedding, and you miss your funeral. What a bummer, right? You went through life, and you weren't there. Kind of sad, isn't it? So much hard work, so little experience gained. So how to be more mindful, how to be more in the present? First and foremost, renegotiate your relationship with technology. You know flight mode, modo avión? Have you seen that little airplane on these devices? Use it every day. Once your tarea is over, once your job is done, push flight mode. And guess what happens? It gets really quiet. All of a sudden, you got a lot more oxygen, a lot more space to breathe and to have time for that processing. I deal with a lot of people. I'm doing a bunch of different things. So I need to get into nature every day and walk, which is also good for being present, being mindful. Just be out in nature, be in the trees, and just be a happy human. Remember when you were a young kid running around naked, screaming and yelling? Did you do that? Yeah, you're normal, okay? If you haven't done that, half your life is wasted, okay? Your homework is, I'm not saying walk around naked campus. I don't know how long you would last on this campus, you know? I saw that guy on a motorbike, you know, with the funny helmet. You've seen that guy? You know? I think he would not like that. So, but just do things that make you happy, that give you joy, you know? You do yoga, you dance, you do music, you do art, but every day I have to go for a walk because legs are meant for walking. Have you noticed? That's why robots and AI are not the solution to all of our problems. And astronaut food is also not the solution. Neither are supplements. But I have to actually move my frame because otherwise what happens, atrophy sets in. And I mean, doctors, they learn books this thick, you know, to explain to you what happens when you're not moving your machine. And it helps you to actually become more present, to be more in the now. Breathe. A lot of people are just breathing very superficially, like just like up here. But this is your biggest brain. Did you know that? Your biggest brain is here. It's not here, it's here. This is your biggest brain. Are you using it? Are you feeling it? You know, as they say in California, everything looks right, but I'm not feeling the love. As soon as you're done with your exams and you get your diploma and you walk out of there, there's going to be people who will tempt you. They will offer you jobs. They will offer you opportunities. They will want you. Not always with the right kind of deals, not always with the right kind of motives. So how do you decide? Whoever pays best? How do you decide? What's your ethics? What's your raison d'être? What is your propósito? What are your goals? So as I'm upgrading my apps regularly, I should also upgrade my goals regularly. Feel free to revisit your goals. Are you doing that? Because some stuff that was cool when I was a little kid is not so cool anymore right now. And connect with nature, and it will help you. Music, sound is very powerful. So every day I get up. You know, 70% of the people check their messages while they're in bed before they go to the bathroom. I don't want to know if you're part of the 70 or the 30. But one humble suggestion: no electronics before breakfast. I know it sounds atrocious. It sounds really dangerous, but try it out. I mean, you're all scientifically minded. Do the laboratory experiment and try it out. If your quality of life increases, keep going. If not, do something else. Try it out. No electronics before breakfast. I guarantee you there will be more messages after breakfast. They need me. They love me. They want me. But in the meantime, I have some oxygen. I have some space to actually breathe, to actually think, to actually follow my heart. And yes, some of that are dreams, some of that will become reality. Often other things come in the way and life happens. But it's okay. You were there and you saw and you lived it, you experienced it. It wasn't just remote control. It wasn't just clicking through stuff and watching other people's lives, but it was your life. Other points of reflection or comments? Yes, please.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
So you mentioned that in order for you to improve your outside, you have to improve your inside. So I think that sometimes it can be a little hard for people to be kind to themselves. So my question is, how do you try to be like kinder and more respectful with yourself?
Thank you. Thank you. Very good point. Very good question. There's a tendency to get too hard on others and too hard on yourself. And that can be crushing, that can be discouraging at times. So, again, the concept of balance, that it's good to get some assessment and to look inside, but at the same time, when you see problems, you should also see the opportunity, the potential, so to speak. If you have a young child, I was just in Aguascalientes, and a friend of mine is an Ayurvedic doctor. Ayurveda is the health science from India. It's like naturopathy. And he has a young boy. He's just around 1 year old. And when you see young kids, they do a lot of things wrong. Now, you could get obsessive and get upset with all the things that are going on that are wrong. You know, like they throw food around, they scream and yell. Have you noticed? Small kids? I know we don't remember, you know. Conveniently, we've forgotten all of those episodes. But especially mothers, I mean, they're so good at this, or parents in general, they see the potential, they don't see the defect. So in a similar way, instead of getting down on you and see the defect, to see more the potential, and to fan the potential, and all of a sudden the defect takes care of itself. You know, going after bad habits is really hard. Have you noticed how hard it is to weed out bad habits? Because I've acquired them over quite a period of time. But it proves to me that I can acquire habits. So if I choose to acquire better habits and have a better way of how to deal with myself, so then the negativity, that fault finding, the criticism, it will go down, it will diminish. In other words, emphasize the positive and the negative will take care of itself. Yes, I can be German and Swiss. I see all the things that are wrong with this building. There's a lot of things that are right with this building. This is solid, you know. So see the positive and work with the positive, and the negative will take care of itself. Because going after the negative, if you kick the skunk, you will stink. So don't be too hard on yourself, but also don't say this is a topic that we're not dealing with. So both getting obsessed with it or saying, "No importa, this doesn't matter. It's just not something I want to deal with." Or I just go to a shrink and I lie there and I, you know, go through the whole process of how this made you feel, how that made you feel. And then you think that will solve my problem. You don't have to actually take responsibility. So for me personally, different people work in different ways, but for me, connecting with nature, reading good books, journaling, and especially spiritual practice. Feeding my soul, doing something that really connects me to the source. And that makes me feel like I'm part of the solution. I'm not part of the problem. I can actually make a difference. Because right now you can see there's a lot of pollution in the world. We have noise pollution, we have environmental pollution, we have corruption, etc., etc., etc. But that's all the macrocosmos. Where does it come from? Where does it come from?
Human errors.
cosmos. It's part of the corruption. It's part of the internal evolution. So unless I start doing my own processing and my own house cleaning, I can't really achieve anything in the world. Just like dental floss. Are you flossing? Yeah? Good boys, good girls. Now, mantra meditation, or you can call it prayer, is mental floss. Because oftentimes we have a lot of noise in our head. Sometimes there's so much noise in our head that we can't hear anyone talk. We can't really connect. Have you noticed? So, when I meditate, when I chant mantras, or I pray, I actually get peace. I actually get clarity. Have you noticed? Have you made the experiment? Yeah? If not, let's do an experiment. Okay? We'll keep that for the end. Okay. Other questions? Comments? Reflections? Just checking the time here. We're still good. Before they kick us out. All right, so let's get to the heavy one. How to deal with fear. Fear arises when I see things that are outside of my control and outside of the greater plan. And I get really anxious, I get really worried, I get really worked up about it. Have you experienced fear? Yes? What if, ... So, again, one way how to deal with it is not dealing with it, right? You just say, no importa, and you brush it under the carpet, you avoid it. How long can you avoid the elephant in the room? How long can you avoid dealing with fear?
Eternally, maybe.
Eternally. You just push it off for later. But inside, you know, sooner or later I come back to the same point. I already thought about this like a million times, and I just push it down the road. So it's not going to go away. I'll have to deal with it, right? I'll come back to this junction at some point, and I'll have to face myself. Which means I have to look myself take a deep, hard look at myself and say, okay, maybe there are some things that are not so great, that I need to improve. Now I have a question for you. There's some people who are trying to prove to the world that they're the best. And there are other people who know that they're the best. Who's got the bigger problem?
When you're looking for validation outside, not a problem.
The ones who don't believe in themselves.
Well, you can think about that one, you know. Let me know next time when I come around here. Now you see, that's why it's good when you're from a little more simple mindset, because you're not trying to impress or convince the world or anybody in it about who you are or what you're doing. But you don't have to be somebody, you can just be. That's good enough. Is that good enough to just be?
Yes.
Because being somebody is really hard. Because you can't, technically speaking. You can only be. I can't be you, you can't be me. We got different trajectories. Okay, we're all souls, we're all human, we're all here having a little moment of connection. But I can't be you. So to accept who I am and what my challenges are, and see the opportunities, and work with the cards that I've been dealt with, and make the most of them. And it's a very powerful concept that's in the Bhagavad Gita, and it's now also being taught at business schools like Harvard, etc. It's called Nishkam Karma Yoga. You have a right to perform your duty, but you don't have a right to enjoy the result. So, in other words, be more process-oriented rather than result-oriented. Sometimes we're too obsessed with the result. Have you noticed? Have you noticed? And you'll do any damn thing to get the result. You break any rule, even though you know that it's not going to make me happy. So, to do our duty, there are different types of motivating, Maslow's pyramid of needs. On the bottom is food and shelter, etc., etc. What's the base motivation that people have in this world? It's fear. It's fear. They're driven by fear. If I don't do this, then ... And fear is based out of ignorance. The antidote is enlightenment or education. Then one level up from fear is incentive. La zanahoria, the carrot. And it doesn't have to be a physical carrot. It can be, it can be anything. It can be a promotion, it can be a job, it can be better paid, better neighborhood, etc. And that's the mode of passion. And then higher than that is duty. I'm doing what I'm doing out of a sense of duty, because this is who I am, and this is my duty, this is my contribution. But sometimes being a good person is not good enough. Why is sometimes being a good person not good enough? Any idea? Now, I'm not here to tell you how it is. I'm here to stimulate your thought process, because I'd like you to go out of this room with more questions than when you came here. That's my job. Is it working? Somewhat? Do you have a few things to chew on? I hope so. That's a good class. The teachers that stimulated my thought process, that shared their struggle and their failures with me, those are the teachers that are memorable. Those are the people that I remember to this day. The others who were super duper and razzle dazzle, I forgot them. Because I've seen a lot and I've heard a lot of presentations. So that means you have to be actually willing to be a little vulnerable, to be real. Because we're not in show business. It's not about impressing your 5,000 non-existing friends or followers. There's 8 billion people on the planet, and most of them will never know that you exist. Is that a problem? Not really, right? Is that a problem? Not really. If you have meaning, if you have purpose, if you have a mission, it's not really a problem. So find your mission, and you won't work another day in your life. You'll be busy, like Steve Jobs. You'll be busy. But you're not going to just kill time till time kills you. Why? Because you have purpose, you have meaning. You have a mission. Have you noticed how it's different when you walk into the world and you have a mission, you have purpose, then you don't have a mission, you don't have purpose? You notice the difference? How you approach it in a whole different way? So find your mission, find your purpose, and you'll do great things in life. But just being a good guy or a good girl is not good enough. Because it's not just about me. Because me and mine is a small world. I actually want to go beyond that. And that means transcendence. I want to be enthusiastic. I want to be inspired. And for that, I have to connect with a higher energy field. There's something outside of me, or inside of me, that is there but hidden, and I don't know about it. So, please keep on asking the questions, and don't expect all the answers to come from outside. Most of the answers will come from inside, through your own practice. What is practice? Like, I go to colleges, I go to universities every week. I was just in San Marcos, in Lima, Peru, the oldest university of the Americas. Actually, Santo Domingo is the oldest, but they had to close a few times because of political reasons. So after my presentation, I was talking about the Bhagavad Gita and the yoga systems of the Bhagavad Gita and meditation and how to do meditation. One student came up to me and he said, "Look, I got this problem. I'm a communist. I'm a Marxist, and I want to meditate. I want to become a Buddhist, But they told me that I have to give up all ideologies. But my ideology is Marxism, communism. So how does that work? So I had to inspire him by trying to share my own struggle, that there's always a tension between institutions and individuals. Now, remember tension? Is tension a good thing or a bad thing?
Necessary.
It's good if there's balance. If you don't get bent out of shape, you know. Do they do riots and demonstrations here? No, it's a little bit. Huh? Some quiet corners. Do they have a building for it, or they do it out in the open? So tension is not bad as long as it's done in the right way, as long as it's a healthy tension. So, and for that, I need realization. I need practice. So I only like to ask you, start your own spiritual practice. There are different ways of how you can go about it, but sound is very powerful. Because sound is the primary means of communication. All of this is sound energy, just materialized. So, by the way, our sound stopped. Notice? In your body, the only sense that never sleeps is the sense of hearing. I was in Cali, Colombia, teaching a teacher training course for yoga teachers, and on that finca, I had 2 dogs. One, Gandiva, she's a fighter, she's a hunter. She got one of my socks as a payoff, as a toll fee. And the other one, Kunti, she's an elderly dog, and she just lies around all day long. But one ear is always up, like this. Always up. So the ear never sleeps. So work your sound energy. And we're going to do right now a little experiment. It's called mantra meditation. Mantra. Man is manas, the mind, and trayate, to liberate. To liberate the mind from our fear. Because sometimes when we're fearful, you know, a problem is never solved at the level of the problem. You need to go to a higher level of consciousness to actually solve the problem. So sound can really put you in a different emotional state. Have you noticed? Do you dance here or not? Yes. So every day sing and dance, okay? That's your homework. That's your tarea. Can you do that? No, I know it's not California. In California you would say, yes! Right? But here they say, yeah, we're cool. We're already dancing. By the way, when was the last time I danced? Man, it's been long. And I don't mean Friday night after 5 beers, you know? I mean like as a spiritual practice, sing and dance every day. I'm not joking, I'm for real. Now I train monks who are spiritual counselors, you know, who have to deal with like first responders, like intense situations. And I tell them, if you don't learn how to actually experience joy and happiness, people will take one look at you and they'll say, nah, I don't want to talk to you, and I'm not going to tell you my fears and my demons. Why? Because I can't trust you. So why not? Because you don't look happy. Have you noticed? And it's not an intellectual thing. How many diplomas do you have? How much money you make? Where you come from? It's a visceral thing. It's here. It's not here. Do I trust you? Same as massage therapist. Okay, you can say, but I'm a structural engineer. I'm a finance guy. I'm a whatever. Ultimately, you want to do bigger things, you need teams. You need to create teams. And for that, you have to be team compatible. And for that, you have to be grounded. You have to be balanced. And that comes through meditation, through spiritual practice. So we're going to do a little experiment. We're going to chant some mantra to liberate the mind from its obsessions, from its noise, from its whatever it is. You fill in the blanks, what your mind is into. Because I ask students, okay, so what's your background, you know? What do you believe in? And some people will say, okay, I'm a Marxist. Some people will say, I'm a a Catholic, I'm a Hindu, I'm a Buddhist, I'm a Jew, I'm an atheist, I'm an agnostic. And then I ask them the same question. What's your practice? What is your practice? And they're like, what do you mean practice? I say, yeah. What's your practice? What do you do? They say, no, you don't understand. You see, I'm Christian or Jewish, or they have some symbol, right? And they show you some symbol. No, that's a symbol. You bought that for 100 pesos on the market. But what's your practice? Practice is what happens when nobody's watching. You can write that down. Message to self. Practice is what happens when no one is watching. That's my practice. I was and I'm still a hockey guy. I love the game. It never stopped. Yes, I broke my ankle. I did a few other stupid things. But, so, practice is what happens when no one is watching. What is your practice when no one is watching? What do you do when no one's around? That's your practice. And again, as I've acquired some bad habits, I acquire better habits. So I'll teach you a little mantra of how to become a happy human in 60 seconds or less, or money back guarantee from this seminar. I know money is not your problem, but just in case you're wondering. So you can do the 21-day challenge or however long you're up for it. And the mantra consists of 3 little words, the 3 little magic words. Yeah. You're like Mom taught you, right? To say please and thank you, etc. Little words, right? Now you may say, how can 3 little words make a difference in my life? Well, did you ever tell anybody I love you? Did you ever do that? No. Great. But it's not economical. It's not hygienic. It's not logical, right? It doesn't make any sense. But you tried it out, right? Have you noticed that if you actually put your heart into it, that your universe changes? Did your life change when you told somebody, I love you? So, it's about your intention, what you put into it. So there's 3 little words, Hare, Krishna, and Rama. Hare means the feminine aspect of divinity, Krishna, the masculine aspect, and Rama, the source of all love and happiness. I say, you say, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare. Hare Hare. Hare Rama. Hare Rama. Hare Rama. Hare Rama. Rama Rama. Rama Rama. Hare Hare. Hare Hare. So the next time you go to the big bad city, La Capital, CDMX, and have you seen the traffic there? You know what I'm talking about? And not just one person cuts you off, but like 10, 20, 30, 50 people cut you off. And you have the choice of either start to talk with sign language and be very Italian about this and get very loud and vocal. Or you go, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram. No, you first. No, you first. No, you first. You first. I insist. No, you first. And of course, that will create an even bigger traffic jam. But everyone will smile, and everyone will say, no, you first. And I think something will change. I used to go up to Rishikesh, which is the self-proclaimed yoga capital of the universe, at the foothills of the Himalayas. And I would take a few friends there during the International Yoga Festival, and we'd just go in the streets and sing and dance. And because it's India, you know, people start honking and yelling, and then there's a traffic jam. But at some point, people give up, and they just get out of their cars and their scooters, and they join in the dancing. And we're all creating a real riot, including the police, just everybody singing and dancing. Real fun experience. And then there was a beggar sitting on the steps, not a religious person or sadhu, but a professional beggar, sitting there with his little cup, and looking sad. And he was watching us, and after about 15 minutes, picked up his cup, put it in his pocket, and came and joined us. And joined the dancing and singing and chanting. And after a while, he started dancing really exuberantly, like really wild, you know? Huh? How do you say in Spanish?
No, es de manera loca.
Huh?
Loco.
Local, yeah, like a bit local, you know, like really showing off, like really, you know, doing the thing, you know? And I was like, wow, this guy's something. And then a little while later, he reached in his shirt pocket and he pulled out a whole stack of cash. And he started waving it around and showing it to everybody. And then he started taking cash and putting it into the pockets of all the people who were dancing there. And he was showing to everybody, I'm not a beggar. I'm not a poor person. I'm a generous person. So that's what meditation does. It transforms beggars into generous people. It transforms hate into love. It transforms being absent-minded into being present, being conscious. Don't think you don't have anything to give. There's a lot of angry people in this world. Have you noticed? I know you don't watch the news and you don't do social media because you're happy, sane people, right? You stay off of all that propaganda and toxic stuff. But have you noticed how polarized the world is? How angry the world is? Because people don't feel heard. They don't feel validated. They don't feel they have meaning or purpose or an opportunity. So if I practice my own spiritual life, my own meditation, yeah, I won't be the President of the United States, I can guarantee you that, nor will I be NBA, because my wrists are too thin. But I can still do some damage. I can still have impact. I can still be part of the solution. But I have to do the hardest job. And what is the hardest job? To deal with myself every day. In a constructive, in a kind, in a conscious, in a mindful, in a present, in an ethical way. And that's what meditation, that's what spiritual life is. It's not spiritual bypassing, it's not spiritual narcissism, it's not feeling better about all the bad things that I do, but it's actually facing myself and starting to take responsibility. And then I'll have little glimpses of enthusiasm, little glimpses of inspiration, where I can see that, yes, this actually works. So, reflections, comments? Yes.
You mentioned about being in contact with yourself.
Yes.
To identify your purpose in life. How would be the first step to do that? I mean, if you don't have a clear purpose or you want to change your purpose, you're not clear about your purpose, what would be the first step to find your purpose?
When you're in a hole, stop digging. You know, you're in a hole, stop digging. Look up for help. There's so much opportunity, but I have to have a molecule of humility that I realize I may not have all the answers. I may need to avail myself of some help. There are experienced people in every field, as you have noticed. I'm sure you got gifted teachers, otherwise you wouldn't have stuck it out so long here in this school. I'm sure you met some people who have something that they can communicate to you, right? So, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. There's no lack of that. Not a question of, are there any qualified teachers? It's a question is, am I a disciplined student? Disciplina. Do I have what it takes?
It's to be ready to...
Yeah, am I ready?
But then how I get to that point?
Well, you never know until you know, right? You just got to jump in. you can try this out, but the water is not going to get any warmer. And out here, you're happy that the water is cold, right? Because it's so hot. You just got to jump in. It means it requires a leap of faith. I have to acknowledge that yes, there is a plan, and it's not my plan. It's nature's plan, it's God's plan, divinity, destiny. You may call it whatever you want to call it, but there is a plan. That's why it's important to go into nature, because you'll see that this actually works. Have you noticed? How every tree is in the right place? And except on campus, you know, there they mess things up a little bit. But you go into forests, you'll see that actually every leaf, every blade of grass is exactly what it's supposed to be. It's quite inspiring, right? So for me, working on farms gave me the confidence that there is a plan and nature will sustain me no matter what I'm going to do. but I better learn how to cooperate with nature. Otherwise, if I go against my own nature, it will be self-destructive. It will be very limiting. So thanks for your honesty. It's a good struggle. It's an honest struggle. But we need help. And that means creating, like what you're doing here. You can't be an academic. You can be good, but you can't be great unless you put peer review, unless you have people of your own field who start challenging and testing you. And I know it's uncomfortable. They will ask you, did you write this, or did you just copy this from a bunch of other people? You know, how did you get to this conclusion? What was your thought process? And it forces us to be real. So the same thing in meditation or in spirituality. These people are available if I want them. Thank you. Yes?
I read this book that was really nice, by the way. Don't believe everything you think. And it made a distinction between thinking, the act of thinking, that comes from the ego, and the thoughts that comes from the source. So I tried out one day. I just tried to shut down the most that I could my ego and just let the thoughts flow. And my day was the most productive. It was like I was in the zone, the flow zone, that everything just comes and you do everything and everything is fine. So I wanted to ask you, what type of meditation did you recommend, or what type of practice did you recommend to have this to train this capability of being in the zone for the longest time?
Well, for you, I can tell you, just keep going. Okay?
But contemplative meditation, like,
I know, it's
should
a
I
joke.
sit?
It's just the worst thing you can do. You're feeling happy. You feel happy sometimes, right? The worst thing you can do is you grab your phone and you start taking pictures. This is me looking very happy. This is me looking very spiritual. This is me looking very cool, very smart. And all of a sudden, the more I talk about it, the more I tell people about it, the more boring, the more mundane, profane, and the more terrible the experience becomes. So, if you feel happiness, keep it in your heart. Don't try to market it to the world, okay? Message yourself, okay? All right, I don't like it. Yeah. Why? Because some things are sacred. Some things are very personal. You don't have to, tell that to everybody. Otherwise, you're just crushing that moment. And it's about connection. And connection can very easily get disconnected. So you don't want to mess with that. Which means basically, whatever energy, whatever love, whatever empowerment I receive, whatever insights I have, I'm not trying to show off, I'm not trying to get off, I'm not trying to make a buck out of it, but I'm using all of that to reinvest it into service. And this will create a perpetuum mobile, this will create a sustainable form, a flow of energy, where you just keep going. That would be ideal, right? So it won't be just one moment or one day or sometimes, but it will actually become your normal, right? Your normal, where you're more connected, more aware. So what I do personally, I get up early, which is another tip besides renegotiating my relationship with technology. You feel you don't have enough time in your life? Do you feel something like that sometimes? Too much going on? Not enough time for myself? Anybody? Yeah? Would you like to have more time for yourself? Yeah? So here's the little gift, regalito. Okay? You take your alarm and you put it 1 hour earlier. Can you do that? It's a free world, right? Okay, that may mean I may have to not eat dinner at 11:30 and not go out to party till 2 in the morning, Okay, but try it out. And if you like it, keep doing it. If you get up before the sun comes out, you notice how you're more clear, how you're more connected. The world's asleep, and you can just be there and actually experience that state. And then you take it out into the day. You don't just roll out of bed and rush to exam, right? Or are you doing like that? Because it doesn't matter. Because you got a trust fund at home, and, you know, no matter how bad you mess up in school, you'll still be the prince of Bahrain. No, I don't think that's the scenario, right? I have to prepare myself. I want to be the best I can be. That means I spend quality time with myself, with my practice. So please take time and chant your prayers, your mantras, do your yoga, read some positive books like Bhagavad Gita. You got the whole collection of books here in your library. And you just take one verse and you chew on it, and you can extract so much. Like what I was talking about is the verse in the 5th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, text 23, that if you learn how to deal with desire and anger, you'll be a happy yogi in this world. And that will help you overcome fear and stress and anxiety. And some things require professional help. For some chronic situations, one has to get professional help. But most of it is self-inflicted. Most of it is just the wrong kind of internal dialogue, the wrong kind of mindset. And that can be adjusted quite easily with a little help from your friends. You have friends, right? Yeah? I hope you do. I saw a lot of good-looking, well-fed, well-bred, well-dressed people here on campus. But at the same time, when you want to go a little deeper, you will notice that we're all part of humanity, and we all have issues, and we all have our fears and our challenges. So, why not help each other and use this wonderful opportunity and this space to actually create a nucleus that will actually create transformation and change? I think we owe it to ourselves. I think we owe it, you know. Yes, sir.
I want to ask you which practices we should avoid, or by the opposite, do to get more up in our consciousness, or like what would you recommend to young people, or what do you think of some practices, daily practices we should avoid or we should do, like to get more in this elevate our consciousness or enlightenment?
That's what I just talked about the last hour and a half.
I was like,
yeah, I'm not going to put them into misery, you know, like I have that much. You can ask anybody.
Well, but what about avoiding which practices?
Avoid toxic people and toxic things. Like things that you can light on fire. Don't put them in your system, okay? I mean, chemistry, right? They learn that, you know? Like, don't blow stuff up. You know? Like, it's not the way how you're successful, okay? Stay away from those things and from those people. Like, we're in Mexico here. You got fruits, you got vegetables, you got... People ask me, why the heck are you going to Central America and you know, and all that stuff? You could be anywhere. And I say, I know why. Real food and real people. They say, what about California? Fake food and fake people. I mean, don't tell them, okay? Yeah. Because the American dream is still a dream. And the Swiss dream is also a dream. And often it ends up being a nightmare. It's not worth it. It's nice to visit, but not to try to be one of them. So just be yourself. That takes the pressure out of it, okay? Once the pressure's out of it, you can actually just breathe and live your life. So avoid the self-imposed misery of trying to impress. Don't try to impress, try to improve. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. Try to improve yourself. And of course, there's so many things that could be said, but again, the baseline is experience, taste. Once you have true connection, true selfless love, there's nothing that supersedes that. And it comes through service. It comes through finding your purpose, the way how I can serve. And you can serve as an engineer, you can serve as an HR director, you know. You can serve as a teacher, as a researcher. You can serve in politics, you can serve in business, so many ways how to serve. Or just being a happy human. The people look at you and go like, hey, I'd like to become like you. Yes, you had your hand up.
Yeah, going back to the topic of electronics and tech, I wanted to know your view on social media, because I guess there's like the positive and the negative. The negative that you see, I don't know, the good, because people only post the good of other people, and then you compare yourself. And there's also the positive where in a way you want to share and you feel inspired by something and you want to share it with friends. So yes.
Do you want my honest opinion or do you want a nice answer?
You're honest.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Are you ready for it? I'm too old for this. I'm a dinosaur. I'm almost 60. You know? I played ice hockey and pinball. You know pinball? Huh? Pac-Man. Pong, you know, then I tapped out of the electronics. So for me, we have so much technology, but we're more disconnected and more distracted than ever. You see 3 people at a table hacking away on phones rather than looking each other in the eye and sharing their heart, you know. It's demasiado. You heard of demasiado? It's just not acceptable. It's just, you know, formerly the cartoon was the guy who's reading his newspaper and the family's there on the table and everybody tries to talk to daddy and daddy just says, yeah, keep talking, yeah. And now it's like everybody's on their phone. It's just crazy. So don't do that to yourself. Technology can be really useful if you know how to use it. But don't become a slave to technology. Use technology for your project or for your purpose, but don't become a slave to technology. Okay? Now, I don't do social media because I don't have to. I got enough human interaction every day of the week. And I need to process, I need to stay sane. But again, like I do WhatsApp okay. You can call that social media in one sense, you know, people sending pictures and little videos, but I don't really get into it because I just don't have the bandwidth, I don't have the energy for it. So you see what works for you. I have friends in my trade who are doing all of that because they like it, they're good at it. I've noticed as soon as the camera is on, either people become very loud or they get very quiet. Have you noticed? It kind of changes the vibe, it kind of changes, you know, the frequency. These people are sometimes a little, yeah, they're different. So, you see what works for you. But since you don't have to impress and you don't have to, you know, work on building your brand and impressing your tribe, I would take this as an opportunity to just work on yourself and invest in yourself. I mean, that's what school is supposed to be, right? Otherwise, you start to get really freaked out about, okay, how am I perceived? Am I popular? Is this working? And you put a lot of energy into that. And I don't think you're going to get the love or the appreciation out of it that you expect from it. So why not take a break and see what it does to you? Have you tried?
No. I mean,
Do you want to try?
yes, I would like to. It's just, you know.
I'm not saying throw your phone into the river, you know. I'm not saying be a Luddite and live in a cave, you know. I'm just saying just regulate. There's 3 R's. Regulate, reduce, and then renounce. But the most powerful one is more purpose, meaning, and happy things to do, and you forget about all the other stuff. You know those days where you don't even touch your phone? Have you had days like that?
It's difficult because, well,
Everything's on the phone, right? But there's a lot of things that are not on the phone. You know that saying in philosophy, I know you're not so much into the human humanities, but I'm sure you've heard that one. That what if a tree falls in the forest and nobody hears it? Did it happen? It's a philosophical question, you know, and we can discuss that. Nowadays the question is different. Nowadays the question is, if it wasn't on social media, did it happen? No, I can guarantee you, I got up before 3 o'clock this morning, and I did my yoga, my meditation, my study, my chanting. It happened, and it was not on social media. So, have more of off time, and then it will help you to start to find your balance. And sometimes you have to do drastic things. Then you just go cold turkey. Like right now, you're in exam mode, right? Am I right? This is finals, right? It's crunch time. You just have to floor it. You just got to go and deliver. So you don't have the time or the bandwidth to deal with this stuff. Just put it on hold. What do you think? Is it wild and radical? Are you ready to do something wild and radical? Once in a while. You know, there were people before the web. These books were written by people from before the web. Most of these books were written by people. Most of these buildings, I mean, not this one, but you know, most of these nice churches and really amazing monuments were built before the web. Can you imagine? People had lives. They actually lived life. You know? I know it's hard to believe. And they did poetry and art and drama and astronomy and astrology and science and medicine. And, you know, they conquered countries and a whole bunch of stuff happened. So, repossess your own mental and emotional and spiritual space. Occupy yourself with positive energy. Don't live somebody else's life. I want to live my life. I'm happy to make my own mistakes. I'm a graduate from the School of Hard Knocks. Have you heard of the School of Hard Knocks? Huh? Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And sometimes you have to be a little bold, okay? And if modo avión doesn't work, then just, you know, switch it up. Or just put it in the drawer. And you'll see. The sun still rises. The birds are still out, you know. People will still talk to you. Food still tastes great. So, it's tough. Because we get addicted. We get addicted to stuff that may not be that great for improving our quality of life. Thank you for your kind attention and for being who you are and doing what you do. And I know a lot of great things will come out of this experiment if I'm willing to be in a mood of service, if I'm willing to be in a mood of selfless love. And I'm not trying to control, I'm not trying to own, I'm not trying to manipulate, but I'm trying to give service. In the Bay Area, I had my project there, and I was regularly talking to recruiters. You know, people are hiring. They say, I don't hire school, I don't hire grade, I don't hire diplomas, I hire attitude. Because you can train anybody in any trade for 3 months, and they will be able to do the job. Technically speaking, they can do the job after 3 months of training. But attitude, character, that takes decades to do. So that is the real project. And if you have that, people will want you on their team. And you'll be busy. You'll be wanted more than you can imagine. And a lot of it has to do with inner dialogue, spiritual practice, and being an instrument of grace, of compassion, to try to help others. I find that the more I've tried to give service, the more things worked out for me. And the more I try to control and to fix and to benefit, the more things went the wrong way. Thank you for your kind attention. I'm amazed. People actually showed up. Are you amazed? No, you knew, right?
No.
You know the scene here. It starts slow, but then people start showing up. So it's a great opportunity. Don't let anyone discourage you, especially not yourself, because sometimes we are our own worst enemies. So sing and dance, and keep chanting, keep chanting. And I guarantee you, if you don't like the dialogue, change the frequency. He who asks the questions controls the conversation. If I have better questions, I will get better answers. If I have better energy, I will get a better resonance from whoever I'm with. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. The acoustics are not so bad. But we haven't brought the drums yet. Maybe we do that next time. Divya, have you used the drums in here? How is it? Very nice. Okay, so this place can be used for singing and dancing. Alright, so if you make a petition, next time we'll bring the drums and we'll do the dancing part, okay? But this time they said secular mindfulness, okay? As if mindfulness is not secular enough, right? So it is what it is. But we have to try to push our limits a little bit. Did you know that all the greatest universities of the world were initially started as seminaries by priests? Harvard School of Divinity. What do you think that means? The School of Theology. They were training priests. And all of a sudden it ended up being engineering and business and law and medicine. But it started out with meaning and purpose. So don't forget meaning and purpose. Don't forget your divinity. And then do whichever job you like to do. Find your passion. And be an instrument of grace. You'll do great things. I know you can. Because you're resilient. You're tenacious. You've proven it. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Wow. Now you see, it's that easy to graduate. You tell a few stories, you make a few jokes, and you get a diploma. It's that easy, okay? So don't think you can't do it, all right? I dropped out of 9th grade. I wanted to become a revolutionary. Now all my parents, they're educators. My uncle, my aunt, my father, my mother, my grandfather. And I thought, no, I'm going to be a revolutionary. I'm not going to waste my time in educational institutions. And for the last 42 years, I've been an educator. So you can't avoid your dharma. You can't avoid your destiny. All right? So thank you for keeping the oasis open here in the desert of Monterrey. It can get a little dry sometimes. And hey, you get gifts. Hey, now I get one of them cool bottles. I mean, it's almost a bottle, right? It's a cup, you know. So, thank you very much. I'm deeply touched. And I finally got my degree, you know. They even spelled my name right. Can you believe it? It's amazing. Yeah, so, miracles do happen. It's possible. Thank you. Thank you for working overtime. All the best. All right, to be continued. And we got Divya here in the back, the lady with the white scarf. She's running a volunteer team who is doing amazing things like meditation and discussions and also volunteering, like this cooking and food distribution. So if you want to stay in touch, you can connect with her, you can ask her, and in this way, she's more social than I am. I'm kind of antisocial because I grew up on a mountain, but she's more, you know, I mean, we're both Italians, but she's more the social one, friendly one. Okay, thank you. Thank you.